Hello, everyone. Streams are starting to come more than just every 2 or 3 months now, huh? Just a warning up front, guys. I am on, as you can see, the free StreamYard version, and it has a time limitation, and it's a little confusing. So I don't know if it's a 1 month period of time where you're allocated so many hours before it will cut you off or not. So if all of a sudden it goes dead, we went beyond that limit. Uh, Over the weekend, I'm going to try to do some research and figure out uh, how much I've used and what I've got left. And perhaps after I get paid next time, I would be willing to pay to get it to the unlimited, but we'll see. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that warning in case we seem to crash and burn all of a sudden. I turned the light way down, and that's why I'm really lit up by the computer. In fact, it's so dark, if I had to write something, it would be a little difficult to see at the moment. I'm sure my eyes will adjust. I anticipate we're only going to go about an hour tonight anyway. I don't want to chew up a lot of time because I don't have a specific subject in mind other than, what I put up there. I'm going to make a connection that probably most people haven't made with what's going on currently in the news. We have some exciting stuff that's coming up, and I'm about to be vindicated for having my channel taken down. I've already been vindicated for the COVID stuff. All that truth is out, and mainstream for the most part hasn't touched it, but it's out there. Even the government itself, you go to the government health websites concerning COVID, all that stuff is being admitted now, and that all the stuff that they made up, like social distancing, wearing a mask, all that stuff was just ridiculous, and it was hype just to get people scared. And that's what I said, and that was, strike, Rich, strike from YouTube, because my propaganda didn't go along with their propaganda. And the other thing that got my channel taken down was the truth about the 2020 election, which again, I'm going to brag because I called that live. I was doing the 2020 election live on a stream, and I called out the fraud live that was going on, real time, because I have been watching elections my entire life very closely. And when I saw a break in the pattern, I knew exactly what was going on. There was only two things that could be going on. One was that you had a systemic breakdown in the counting machines all at the same time. That was one possibility. Or the other possibility was fraud was going on live. And since all the machines by law cannot be connected, like machines in Michigan can't be connected to machines in Pennsylvania, that type of thing. Since they can't be connected by law, that was eliminated as a possibility. And let's just say they were connected. That broke the law, so it was fraud. Either way, you get into the fraud bucket. And so one of the things that went under the radar lately, and I'm going to get to the people in the chat, so don't worry, I'll get there. One of the things that went on was not only did we have Americans who were involved in the fraud. I'm still have to think about what I can say and what I can't say, because you just never know, because it's getting ready to really hit the fan. But I'm going to make a connection for you in advance. It may be a while before you see the connection, or they might just come right out and tell you, hey, we know this because. But either way, if you haven't been able to put the dots together with events lately, I'm going to put those together with you on the stream tonight, and so you'll know in advance. You heard it here first, type of deal. And so the first thing I'm talking about is election corruption. Let's just call it that. Foreigners didn't want Trump to win again in 2020 for different reasons for each power. China had a reason. Iran had a reason. Venezuela had a reason. Russia did not have a reason. So what's interesting is if you go back and you look at the 2016 election, everybody wanted to cry that the Russians interfered in that election. But if you say foreign actors interfered in the election in 2020, they'll say, no, that was very pristine and foreigners cannot interfere in our election. That's impossible. So of course, it's the way it always is. It's whatever the narrative is that fits, what's going on at the time. That's what is accepted as truth. If you'll remember even in the 2024 election in Georgia, funny how Georgia comes up a lot. There were bomb threats that came in on election night, supposedly bomb threats. I kind of doubt that. I think that was kind of some sort of manipulation itself by the left, and I can explain why. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But because certain areas in Georgia, extremely left-leaning areas like Fulton County, there are several hotspots in the country that are just jungles of corruption. Fulton County, Atlanta area, Georgia is one of them. As we know, Minneapolis is wherever the Somalis are. That's another one. And well, they're rich. That's racist. Well, I mean, if 90% or 90-some% of Somalians are on welfare, they're just taking money from the state because they can't work. What is it with Somalians who, when they get here, they can't work? That's fraud. The 90% of any population that comes from somewhere can't work. Something's wrong, unless they came from, I don't know, someplace that was hit with actual radiation. Maybe that population couldn't work. But that's another fraud too, is radiation and all that stuff of certain sorts. But on election night in 2024, in the bluest of blue areas in Georgia and I think North Carolina, there was 2 states involved. Bomb threats supposedly came in. And what happened? A judge immediately said, oh, okay, well, in those areas, we're going to extend the voting time for 1 or 2 hours, whatever it was. It was different for each locality. And so the bluest of blue areas got a longer voting day. And why do I think it was a fraud, the bomb threats? Because you don't have bomb threats come in, and within 20 minutes, they say there's nothing to worry about. They've checked everything, and there is no bomb. Are you kidding me? It takes 20 minutes for the call to be routed to the right agency to go check and see if there's a bomb. But judges gave 1 or 2 extra hours to vote. That was all a scam. But my point there was the media reported it as they were called in by Russia. Russia was interfering in the election. And so what they're trying to do is set the narrative early on that if they can actually use it, if it was close enough to use it, they would rig it using that. See, it started with this. It's all narrative building in advance is what they try to do now. But with this back to 2020, because that was the big fraud. We're about to find out how immensely fraudulent that one was. And I've been able to connect the dots on 3 so far. I've already mentioned it. China, Iran, and Venezuela. They were all involved in rigging the 2020 election. How each one of them did stuff remains to be seen. I believe China was one of the ones that had enough data to create false IDs and things like that and send that out to certain areas that were important. And we'll have to find out exactly how Venezuela and Iran were involved as well. Now, here's the connection that if you haven't made it, make the connection now. You're going to be one of the first few that know it. This whole thing that we've talked about, why this is capture, so to speak, or extraction of Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela is part of bringing down the British Empire, because the drug trafficking that was done with that and the oil and all, just everything connected to it, was how the British Empire funds its deep, dark operations so that they can remain in control of world affairs. And it's all connected to Israel and different things like that. And that's not what I'm getting into tonight. But I know it looks fantastic that the U.S. military was able to pull off such a great thing in Venezuela. But I believe it was all pre-planned. Let me give you a little timeline of what happened here. Trump is talking about how, well, you know how it escalated with Trump in Venezuela. They started, it was all talking first, and then, the drugs have got to stop coming, and Maduro's got to stop the drug people bringing drugs to the United States. Then before you know it, we're blowing up boats in the water. I don't have problems with that, other than the fact that it's at some point, probably after the first boat that you blew up, you should be going to Congress to get authorization. But I'm not getting into the political aspects of what's constitutional, not in this video. But things I think should be done a little bit differently. In any case, we started blowing boats up out of the water, and then they pivoted to talking about a possible land invasion in Venezuela. If you remember, there was one night Trump was giving a speech, and the media was sure that Trump was going to announce that we were going to war with Venezuela. Remember that? And it was a Trump troll. He got all the networks to give airspace to him, and he talked for 45 minutes or an hour about all his accomplishments. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant move. And because they do not have to give him time. But can you imagine you're one of the networks, ABC or CNN or whatever, and you didn't cover the biggest announcement that we're going to war? So they all covered him. And that was the night we were going to go to war with Venezuela. We had half the U.S. naval fleet off the coast of Venezuela, it seemed like. And it looked like we were obviously preparing for a land invasion. When you're in the military more, you understand this. The deception around stuff like that is fantastic. And the better you can pull it off, the better your results are going to be. The best example of that was in the Reagan administration when I was in the military, in the Navy. Grenada. That was a small operation, and 100% successful, really, with what we had to do. And we were extracting people out of there as well. We were getting rid of forces that we did not like, that were in control of Grenada or on the island of Grenada. It's funny, politically, I didn't know much of what was going on because I was in the Navy. I just knew there was issues. But Reagan announced to the world that we were going to have a show of force off the island of Grenada. In other words, in advance, he told them days in advance, I'm going to bring the whole armada in, so to speak, to have a show of force, quote unquote. That's exactly what it was, a show of force. And one of the problems with Grenada was it was so exposed that you could not have a surprise extraction of those people, because for 20 miles or even longer, the earth is actually flat, so you can actually use optics and be able to see the ships coming for 50 miles or 70 miles, right? We know this. And so there was no way to surprise Grenada. And that was a problem because they wanted surprise to be able to pull this off without a lot of casualties. Surprise in the military is one of the, if not the biggest thing to your advantage strategically. There are cases when other things trump that, but surprise is a big one. And so, how do you surprise somebody who can see you coming for hours and hours and hours and hours? Well, you let them know you're coming, all right? And it's going to be a huge force. And we want to show them that if we wanted to do something, we could. And so, what happened was this force starts forming off of Grenada. And guess what they did? They didn't even respond. They didn't even go to high alert because they told us they were coming. And so they were on low alert. And we just went right on in and did the extraction that we had wanted to do, got out. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Because they didn't think anything bad was happening. Anyway, back to Venezuela. There was a phone call that I don't know if it was leaked to the press or whatever, but Trump was asked about it. He said, it's reported that you had a conversation with Nicolas Maduro. And he said, yes, it was a long conversation. It was a good conversation. And they said, well, you know, you're going to tell us anything? He said, no, I'm not going to tell you anything about it at all. And Trump said he'll find out if he doesn't do what we want him to do. And that was a little bit of that posturing to the media and things like that. That, folks, was a setup. What happened? I'm going to tell you what happened on that phone call. And trust me, I don't know if I'll live long enough to ever have it declassified to prove I'm right, but watch, I'll be right with this. Maduro was probably told by Trump. Now, I don't know the specifics, of course, but I'm going to give you broad categories. If you don't do what I want you to do here, you, your wife, everybody, not only are you not going to be in control of Venezuela anymore, but you're probably not going to end up with your life. We're going to come in there. We're going to wipe out everything. So you, your family, your friends, your henchmen, whatever, we're going to destroy you because we can. That's choice A. Choice B is you let us come in there at a certain time. We will extract you and your wife out. Listen to me here, folks. You got to put these little details together. They extract his wife with him. That's unheard of, unless you've made a deal in advance. They extract him and his wife out, bring him back to the United States to stand charges in New York where he was indicted 20 years ago or whatever it was on drug trafficking laws or whatever. What does Nicolas Maduro get? He gets to have his life and he gets to live somewhere, because I don't think he's going to have too much of a bad time, him and his wife, in some federal prison or whatever. All right. So why does Trump do it that way? Because Nicolas Maduro, he's got something up here that Trump needs. Nicolas Maduro, who I believe is the coordinating factor in the 2020 election fraud. In other words, Iran and China coordinated through Venezuela, because that's what they do. They coordinate right now, or were when Maduro was there, to get oil and to get other things. The same coordination efforts were being used to rig the 2020 election. And you're going to find out that one of those three countries in particular was able to manipulate real-time data, okay, into these machines that supposedly you can't connect to the internet and different things like that. I've seen information, and this is not hidden information. It's just been taken off the internet because of, like me, being taken down in 2020. There are people that captured this real-time data manipulation as it was going on, and they replayed it and showed it. It's there. I've seen it happen. I've seen it. It shows how a batch comes in, how it was parsed out, and then how it was flipped to go for Biden by a certain percentage. And they even showed how they do it. It's the same way you do a bank scam, where There's so many transactions going on. You skim off just a few cents here and there off a transaction. And before you know it, because you have millions and millions and millions of transactions, it adds up. Well, there's millions and millions and millions of votes going through this system. And they go through the system more than once because they report in, they report out, that type of thing. And sometimes they're cross-reporting because you got to get it to the Secretary of State, and then they transmit it again. They put it on the website, they transmit. Anyway. Maduro he's the knowledge keeper. He knows exactly who did it, and he knows the American actors that were in on it as well. Powerful forces in the United States did not want Trump to win in 2020. Like, I don't know, maybe the pharmaceuticals. What did he just do with pharmaceuticals? Right? He just got Ozempic down from $1,300 a shot to $199. That type of deal. And he's got RF Kennedy Jr. in there. Now, he didn't have RFK Jr. in 2020, but he was talking the same thing. In fact, he came up with this favored nation thing in the last year of his presidency, and everybody forgot about it because COVID came up. Nicolas Maduro was extracted out and they made a deal. Trump's a deal maker. He's a transaction artist. I will give you, instead of you dying or being turned over to this is probably the worst thing. Maduro stays alive, but he's turned over to his enemies in Venezuela. Can you imagine? You had hundreds of thousands of people probably flee his dictatorship and his oppression to come to the United States and other South American countries in particular because of his harsh dictatorship. And so the last thing you want is to be turned over to your enemies that you created during something like that. That's what he was told, in my opinion. This is your fate on one side. We'll keep you alive, but we'll turn you over to your enemies. That would have been a real regime change. Or you set it up so we come in at this time, this date, this time, this hour of the night. None of the air defenses go off, nothing. Oh, but that's the greatness of the U.S. military. No, that's the greatness of this plan. They go in, they take him out. They get him out safely. They just happen to know exactly where he's sleeping. They come up with this big thing. Oh, we've been tracking him for months, and so we know his, the different nights he stays here and the different times he's there and whatever. Okay, believe the James Bond stuff if you want. And so Nicolas Maduro has been singing since he's been back. And once he verified what he needed to verify, they executed a already ready to go subpoena in Fulton County, Georgia, where they grabbed all the election materials. Now they know where to go to grab them, where they can get the most bang for the buck. It was really done in Georgia, in Fulton County, one specific place. It could have been Pennsylvania, but I think Fulton County was the center of it. Could have been Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is so corrupt and so embedded with corruption and has been for so long that it's a lot cleaner to get it out of Fulton County. Hell, Philadelphia is so good with the corruption, they probably have literally burned all the ballots and information from 2020. They've done a mafioso job on it. But Fulton County, they did all the nice little things you're supposed to do. They stored it all and whatever. And you know how they're caught? Immediately, Fulton County fires off lawsuits. I think there's 14 already. I could be wrong. I might be mixing something up in my head there. to get all the files back. Why don't they care to get them back? There's nothing going on with the 2020 election anymore. Why do they need them back? Because they know what's in it. Because the longer the federal government has it, the more they go through it, the more they're going to find out. And it's deep, folks. It's really deep what they did. And the timing with this voter ID, the Save America Act, or whatever they're calling it, SAFE Act, the timing is not a coincidence. Because all this information is going to come out now to take these rhino senators over the hump, and some other, maybe even Democrats. Oh, how can I vote against this? Because they're showing that 25% of the people that voted in Fulton County weren't even U.S. citizens. And so all of this is being coordinated all at the same time. And what you're going to find out is, again, I don't know if you're going to find out in my lifetime, but Nicolas Maduro is the one that tipped them off on where to look. He knew where the bodies were buried, so to speak. And so to get it done in order, you have to get the information. Oh, Nicolas Maduro has the information. Okay, let's go get him. But we got to make a deal first because, they've been trying to get Nicolas Maduro to get out of Venezuela forever. Generations, it seems like. And not generations, but it's been a long time. And they just magically go into their biggest, most secure area in the country. And we don't even lose a life. We know right where to go to get him. Anyway, that's why we have Nicolas Maduro. He's singing about the 2020 election. And as soon as he was able to verify what they thought was true, they told Tulsi Gabbard, go for it. Get it. That's why Tulsi Gabbard was there. That's why they're freaking out in the media. Why is Tulsi Gabbard there? Why is Tulsi Gabbard there? They know. If she's involved, she's the director of national intelligence. That means there's foreign interference. Now all of a sudden there's hit pieces on Tulsi Gabbard in the big newspapers and stuff like that. They know what's coming, folks. They're caught. And Nicolas Maduro provided the keys. That is going to be an explosion of information very soon coming to a news outlet near you. Well, we'll see if they all cover it or not, but that's what that's all about. In the meantime, and probably not coincidentally, at the same time, you've got all this fraud being exposed with like Ilhan Omar and all the other things going on in the Minnesota billions that were stolen from Medicare and Medicaid, and California too now. This is why Medicare in particular is going to go bankrupt. It's not because they're not collecting enough money. It's because the corruption is so bad that it doesn't matter how much money they collect from people, they can't keep up with the corruption. It's billions and billions and billions of dollars, probably on an annual basis. Did you see that hospice centers, okay? Hospice, end of life. When you go into hospice, end of life care, it's all taken care of. 100%. You don't pay for anything. Assuming you have Medicare. And, but when you go into hospice, you better be dying because you forfeit all the money or any benefits you would get from Medicare from then on. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's just the way it is. So if you get cured in hospice, I don't know where you go from there for your medical coverage. But all the funds are driven into that hospice care for you. And so if you want to rip something off, what do you want to do? Why don't we rip it off when all the funds are geared towards one thing? Because if you go just broadly after Medicare, you might, okay, well, you have a lot of different choices. Okay, well, let's rip off the cardiology part of it, or the physical therapy part, and different things like that. All right. Or you can go for the big banana. You can go for hospice care. And so I think it was, now these numbers they're not right, but they're going to be close. The entire state of Florida, which has the most seniors in the United States per capita, not even per capita, period and per capita. Florida has the most seniors. I think they have 58 hospice centers in the state of Florida. 58, or was it 59? It's in the 50s. Los Angeles County alone in California had 1,876, if I remember the number right. 1,876 hospice centers in Los Angeles County alone. They have less seniors in all of California than all of Florida, and one county in Los Angeles has, like, whatever it is, 3,000%, 30,000% more hospice centers. And nobody does the reporting. It took Nick Shirley, right, a YouTube reporter, to go to Minneapolis to blow the lid off of billions and probably hundreds of billions, maybe even getting close to $1 trillion, depending on how many years it's been going on, of Medicare fraud. So in California, somebody went out and said, okay, let's one building. I think it was 455 hospice centers in one building are registered. That means every day that's where the high-speed rail went, to this hospice building, because it's bringing in seniors from all over the country every day, because there's 400 and some hospice centers in one building alone in LA County. And so this is why Medicare is going bust. Okay. They're peeling the tip of the iceberg. We might find paying off the national debt isn't that bad of a deal because of all this fraud. And hopefully they can claw back a lot of it. And I believe it's part of the Trump administration's agenda to, all at once, starting now, expose all this fraud everywhere, so where it overwhelms the system with, there's no way you can get around not hearing about it. The media will have to cover it, or they're going to look like fools for not covering it. So that's where we are. Just wanted to give you an update on that. But the big one is the election fraud and the connection with Maduro, why he was extracted out, why it was so easy in reality to get him out of there. And so they know they've got all the goods. This is why Trump said in advance. Trump talks in the future, if you haven't noticed. He will sometimes telegraph what's coming because he talks in the future. What do I mean by talking in the future? Well, he said there's a lot of things that are coming out with the election fraud in Georgia. Well, nothing was coming out about the election fraud in Georgia. But he's already heard it from Maduro. He's already heard it. And so he projects into the future what's coming. He does that a lot. You can tell what's coming by listening to him, because he will future project what's coming. And he said it like 3 times to 3 different reporters. I heard him. Well, as you know, there's a lot of stuff coming out, a lot of details about the election fraud in Georgia. And the 2020 election is like, in reality, it's like, no, Trump, not one detail is coming out yet. He knows. And Nicolas Maduro gave it to him. He gave him the keys to the kingdom. And so we have to do is, he's going to do the same thing with the media. Overwhelm it so they have to cover it. They're going to have to cover the most pristine election in the history of the world, the 2020 election. And even the reporters, you can tell they're freaking out because some of them know. In fact, you got to know. This is why you have that Dana, whatever it is, crap ass on CNN. This has been litigated over and over, and fraud was never proven. It's never been litigated. Never, not once, not in any federal courts. There's been some little state stuff that has popped up, and guess what? Even the little state stuff, they're like, yeah, there was fraud, but it was like some commissioner in Wisconsin, okay, filed a suit saying there was illegal votes here and they shouldn't have counted these votes. And the judge looked at it and said, oh yeah, that's for sure. Same ballots that had presidential names on it, but that's not what's before the court. It's like if you notice in the Supreme Court, stuff will come before the Supreme Court. And they have the opportunity to rule on it, but they don't because it's not before the court. Roe versus Wade. Okay, this abortion thing. Eventually, they got rid of it. Now, it's been a conservative majority for quite a while now, at least 5-4. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg was there, it was 5-4. They could have overturned Roe versus Wade long before they just did, what, 2021 or whatever it was? Long before. But the exact question of the constitutionality of it never came up before the court. Well, basically what the question was is, does the federal government have the right to tell you, okay, I'm confusing two different cases. But anyway, the case, if they don't cover the exact thing, okay, in the law, they don't specify on it. They just leave it moot. And so finally somebody brought the right case where they had the rule on that specific thing. So, like, there's reasons why Obamacare should not be constitutional. Why? Because the founders never gave the government authority to tell you that you had to buy a product. That's what Obamacare is. And if somebody would have taken it to the Supreme Court based on that, Obamacare would have never passed. But guess what? The question was before the court. The Obama team, their lawyers were very smart. They argued that it was a tax. And the founders gave Congress the right to tax the American people. And that's why they won. That's why Roberts, there's more reasons why Roberts voted for it. Talk about corruption. But he voted for it, he said, because, yeah, the Constitution does give them the right to tax the people. And Obama's lawyers, that's what they argue before the Supreme Court. It's a tax, and Congress has that ability to tax. And if we rule against this, it means Congress can't tax the people, which is absolutely. See, they narrowed it down, and so the court ruled on it. Is it constitutional? So you have these judges that aren't very good, like Roberts. And so because of that, he ruled the way he did, and that's why he was the deciding vote. Now, Clarence Thomas and other people that are more intelligent, they will broaden the scope, even though that isn't what's before the court. They'll say, but wait a minute. The authority never was there in the first place. It's like the marijuana laws. If anyone ever gets the right case before the Supreme Court, which is, does the government have the right to tell you you can or can't buy a product called marijuana? The government doesn't have the right to tell you that. You have to specifically authorize the government through a constitutional amendment. Prohibition, no different. It's a drug. Alcohol is a drug. How did that get approved? They did a constitutional amendment to where enough states ratified it. It passed. It became part of the Constitution, whatever amendment it was. 23rd Amendment. I don't know what it was. And because of that, the government could say, no, you're not allowed to consume alcohol. Well, why? How come the government can say you can't consume marijuana? Now, I'm not a marijuana advocate. I mean, I'm for freedom. I think if you want to smoke marijuana all day long, go at it. And the government doesn't have a right to tell you no. So that's not it. I hate marijuana. As far as the effects or whatever, I would never. I hate it. Let's just put it that way. I have chronic pain. I was hoping that would help me. All it did was make me focus on it more. So it wasn't for me. But the government doesn't, the federal government doesn't have a right to tell you that you can't have it. It's a Schedule 3. Trump just changed it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. That was a big deal. And the idiots, well, what it is really the big pharma's behind that, along with others, but big pharma mostly. They don't want it scheduled they don't want to change to Schedule 3. Schedule 3 means you can do testing on it to see, does it really help with cancer? Does it really help with that? Does it really help with pain? Does it really help with glaucoma? When it's a Schedule 1, you're not even allowed to test it to see if it's effective for stuff. It's against the law. When Beverly Hillbillies days, it's again the law. You can't do it. So Trump just changed it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. I was all happy, and then because I thought he was totally getting rid of the scheduling of it, and he dropped it to Schedule 3. I'm like, well, at least it's in the right direction. The government doesn't have a right to do that at all. Not unless you do a constitutional amendment for it. But if anybody for marijuana who wants to say, we have this problem in this country. You have states like Arizona where you're allowed to have recreational marijuana. But if the feds come in, they can take you to jail. The state can't take you to jail, but the feds can. And that affected me once. Or came close to affecting me. I thought the feds were coming to my house for some reason. And if they would have found out I was growing marijuana plants because I was hoping that it would help me with pain, they would have confiscated the plants and confiscated me. Luckily, they never came. I got it settled with the local police. It was one of the stories I've told before. Stupid reason. They were there for because I was kidnapping people, supposedly. Anyway, that's enough of me ranting and rolling. I went way on more than I thought. Let's get back to the stream, see what we got going on in here. We got 12 people at the moment. Let's go all the way back. I know Sissy May was there early. Hello, Sissy May. Good to see you. Who else we got? We got Jeff Wheeler, Michael B. Oof. KP Saxon. Let me see your picture. Oh, God, they're worse on the screen. Man, got to see it later. Good to see you, KP Saxon. Some of the names I don't recognize because YouTube has changed or whatever. They're changed on my screen. So I have to see it later. But the pictures show me who you are. I know who you are. You're Keith. That's right. Anyway. Oh yeah, you were on the stream, I guess, that night. Very good. That's good to hear. Thanks for being there so long. Mark Harris. And who else? Sissy May snuck in there again. Stu6302. Hello. Hello to you. Never mind. Good to see you, buddy. I don't think you're talking about. Are you talking to me about the nasty weather? We didn't get any nasty weather. That's for sure. It's been nothing but beautiful. A little warm, but beautiful. I think I saw where hundreds of Cuban soldiers died by sonic weapons when capturing Maduro. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying they didn't do that. But the ability to go in and get him, to me, that was all pre-planned. That was known in advance. But see, you can't let everybody know in advance. Oh, Maduro has set this up. Let them in. No, they ain't going to fly. Are you kidding me? The regular dog faces, so to speak, the regular military people, they can't know any of that's going on. I think I'm all caught up. I am caught up. So the amount of corruption in this country is unbelievable with the politicians and everything. Elon Omar has a wine business that went from, I think, $11,000 in sales to, was it $4.5 million in a year? And somebody went there. Somebody did a reporter Shirley went there, and there's no wine, there's no grapes, there's no sales. Isn't there oversight? I guess they don't care. Nobody really looks at anything. Oh, yes, insisting May. Oh, gotcha. Never mind. Thank you for the clarification there. Yes, Maduro is the keystone. Yes, he is. For that. And it makes sense because everything, um, if you're in China or Iran, you're too far away to do things that have to be physically maybe implanted in the United States or with interactions with people in the United States. It's too far. And you set off too many alarm bells if you have too many people traveling, because it's, people coming from China are tracked, and people coming from Iran. These are very, if you're considered like not the friendliest of people to the United States, you're tracked. And but that's a lot less coming from South America. And plus the proximity of South America to the United States versus 3, 4, 5,000 miles away with China. And it's got to be close to 4,000 with Iran, 3,500 at least. And yeah, Nicolas Maduro, he's the keystone. He's the coordinating factor. And I was wondering why Trump would have a long conversation with him. Because when you think it through, it's like, what's there to talk about? Maduro's getting all his money from the illegal sales of sanctioned oil and things like that, and drug trafficking. And so Maduro, to keep power, can't stop that. And so there's nothing really to discuss other than, well, Maduro, if you want, we'll let you flee somewhere. But I think it actually might come down to, I don't know how likely this is, but I think it's possible. Maduro could actually testify. Maduro could actually testify what happened with the 2020 election. Now, I don't know how much credibility he would have, but he would probably be able to dial a dime, so to speak, on so many people to where they get to testify too. And it's like, well, instead of 20 years in jail, you're out in 6 months on probation, but you gotta tell us what was going on. Do you remember in 2020 in Pennsylvania? Everybody stopped counting, and then they started counting again. And once everybody went, go home, we're done counting for the night. And then they would take cardboard and cover the windows, or not necessarily cardboard, but whatever, things to cover the windows. So you couldn't even look in and see what was happening. It's an election center. They count votes. Why are you covering it up so nobody can see? Oh, just everything was so convenient. Okay. And the 6-foot distancing, that was good until election night. Inside, when you have the poll watchers, all of a sudden it was 15 to 20 feet. And that was one of the things in election night, particularly Pennsylvania, that the poll watchers were complaining about. Both Republican and Democrat poll watchers, they were complaining. Hey, my job is to see if they're counting these absentee ballots right in these ballots when they come in. My job is to make sure everything's processed right and everything is what they say it is on the ballot. I can't see from 20 feet who the person voted for. See, it was all done. It was all beautiful how they actually did it. Texarkana got buried in snow. Cold. It's still cold, Sissy May. Yeah, you go, Sissy May, to be forced to capture Medora Shore was smiling. Yeah. And they transported him and his wife together. It just, you know why they can get rid of, not rid of, you know why they can get away with stuff like this? It's because the media doesn't ask questions. There's so many things about that whole thing. Is like, what do you mean? You went in, extracted those two out. You just went in and got them. Took them out, put them in a helicopter. Now they're in U.S. custody. Oh, my. They didn't have to take out any other guards. Or maybe they say they shot them. I don't know. But, and it just so happened, I don't know, there's so many coincidences that stuff I covered tonight that should have been, is like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. Was this part of your conversation? Nobody even, they don't ask the probing questions. Was this part of your conversation that you had last week? This long conversation that you won't talk about what you talked about? That's what they talked about, getting him out. And they would probably, look, on the 22nd, whatever date it was, on the 22nd at 2:45 a.m., we're going to knock on the door. You open the door. We're going to handcuff you. We'll cuff you with your hands in front, so it's more comfortable. That's what they did. And we'll bring your wife with you. She won't have to get all worried and upset. We'll keep the two of you together. Weren't they even arraigned together? I think they were. They were perp walked together. How often does that happen? Even if it's a husband-wife, they're separated. In fact, that's part of the deal. You want them separate because once you get them in custody or whatever, you want to question them separately. No, these two weren't separated ever. They were kept together the whole time. Nobody asked questions. How come they both were brought in together, arraigned together, and kept together? Kind of breaks normal protocol, doesn't it? They're more interested in the other stories that aren't stories. Take Cardi, please. There's a guy I watch. I really like him. What's his name? Something AA. See if I can find him real fast. I got a process running in the background while I'm talking to you guys. Oh my God. You guys remember I did one or two. I did one or two streams where I talked about AI, and don't just use it as a chat mechanism. You can use it for other stuff. You wouldn't believe this stuff. Like the thumbnail tonight, I think I've said this before. The thumbnail tonight was generated by AI. I told it what I wanted, and it gave it to me, the thumbnail. And if I would have had more time, I would have made it even more detailed. I might have even put myself in the thumbnail. But all the thumbnails on my fitness channel, my coaching channel, they're all generated. I created an app using AI. I said, I want an app to where I can create thumbnails where I give you the title and you suggest what the thumbnail should look like. And it does, and I make changes to it or whatever, but it gives me the framework. And my thumbnails, they all have a certain look. You know, when I was doing this, I wanted sort of a different look, and it was giving me these. I gotta find an example so I can show you guys. In fact, I'm gonna go there and open up a thing and show you, because it's pretty cool what you can get AI to do. So I can't believe I got something tonight that while we were talking, that would have taken human beings probably several days to come up with the answer. Okay. Let me show you this. I created what I call a persona, or my look, my DNA of my channel once I got it. But anyway, I kept, there was a reason I had that on there. Take Carney. There's a guy, he calls Carney a cuck, and that's what Carney is. What a joke. What a beta male Carney is. And poor people of Canada, I feel for you. I really do. Because you don't have a leader. You have a Biden who isn't mentally incapacitated the way Biden is. And that might be worse because your guy can actually make decisions. AI typed a message to a friend of mine on Messenger. I have no idea how that happened. Hey, sis, you may end up, you wake up one day and you got 857 new followers. AI went out and found out what it liked about each one of them. You gave them compliments and everything. It was quite informative. Oh, that's weird. I have so many tabs, I don't even know where the stream is. There it is. Okay. So I definitely want to show you this just to get an idea of what I'm talking about here. This persona I created, the DNA of my channel. But I was looking for this. It was more of a older look, like the way the gyms looked when I was growing up. And I noticed after a little bit, I don't like that look. I like the look of the modern gym. And so I was like, hey, what about this look? And I gave AI pictures of the gym that I'm in. And, I take pictures, progress pictures and stuff, and the gym's in the background. And so it gave me the persona for that. And I really, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. The lights went on. I was like, that's it. That's the look I want. So here's my channel. Sorry, the screen is put together different than it used to be, guys. Sorry. All right, see the top 4 thumbnails? There's especially that first one in the top left. That's my latest video. You see how it's got that like neon cyan blue color? My gym has that look to it. But whatever that look is, I like it. It's like a modern, crisp look. And so that part of it, I like. That thumbnail there is for a supplement called TMG, trimethylglycine, and what I wanted was a thumbnail of like a GNC, General Nutrition Center, and but I wanted to. What I did was I left my persona, my DNA in there, my channel. I said, give me I'm walking into a GNC. What would I see? And, but I left my persona description with it. And so it created that thumbnail. Now it didn't create it with me in there. That's an overlay I put in. But anyway, and so I don't have to type it out. A cinematic, modern, blah, 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 blah. There's like 4 lines of description to get that look. But even the second thumbnail, the not the left one, but the next one. That's a Walgreens, and it's still got that same kind of look in there. Although Walgreens, more of the Walgreens persona bled through, and most AIs still have a problem with text. You would think that would be the easiest thing, but they make mistakes with text that it misspells and whatever. But you'll see in that second thumbnail that there's a title that I have above. There's a kiosk that I have there, and it's if you're on a TV screen, it actually you can see it and it makes sense. Did you know, guys, most people are watching YouTube videos now on a big screen? It's gone full circle. It used to be big screen TVs, whatever. It went down to tablets and then mobile phones. Like if you look on your not demographics, but you look at your sort of like demographics. So you look at the reports from YouTube with who views your channel, what time, and what device do they use. And the vast majority of the people use the big screens now, which I like. But anyway, in that thumbnail, you see there's a guy, he's making a choice, and you can read this on a regular full screen. It's basically choose your future, and it's me on the left, and the idea was I'm not all crippled up and everything at a certain age. And on the right, it's a guy basically my age, but he's using a walker to get around. And but anyway, the title at the top, which is in that cyan color, that neon blue, that is only there. I didn't want to have a title on that one. I wanted that to be clean. And it's spelled Walgreens, Walgens. And so that's on there to cover it up. The colors were perfect. The style of the writing was perfect, but it just misspelled it. Now, the top thumbnail on the right, so the fourth one over, that is actually, if I didn't know better, I'd swear I was in my gym, because that's how my gym looks. But it's that persona, it's that look. Now, the next line, those next four thumbnails, that was before I had AI make my thumbnails. And so it was all over the place. But what I just had it do is pretty amazing. I thought StreamYard was going to allow me to present something else without having to totally remove this old one, but it won't do it. So I don't know why they don't let you do two at a time. Anyway, there's a I'm looking at an AI now. It's called Manus AI, MANUS, Manus AI, and you're not going to be able to read that, are you? That's okay. I'll read it. Just before I came onto the stream, literally within 3 or 4 minutes before, now this AI, this Manus AI, it builds apps. It does chores for you. It'll post to social media for you every day. It'll do everything. It'll do all these tasks like you have a person there doing it. Like I said, everything's going to go down in cost soon because these AI is going to do everything for you. It's just like a robot person is doing these things. It can, like when Michael had his moving business before he had his accident, I was his marketing manager, and he wanted me to post every day on Facebook. And that took a lot of time, folks. And it was just little posts. I would have to get something related to moving. Okay, a picture somehow related to moving, boxes or whatever. Drop cloths, on your house when you're trying to, whatever, just the whole thing. And, or pads, I should say, not drop cloths, wasn't paint. And and then I would have to manually make up a story or something underneath of it. Have you had problems with your furniture being damaged in a move in the past? Well, Noble Moving, that was the name of the company,
specializes in whatever. And I would post it once a day. And just that, it took me 45 seconds to explain it. Just that would take, I don't know, probably 30 to 45 minutes. But that's not even including the generation of the thought in my mind of what do I post today? And you got to come up with whatever is under the post yourself. Well, and you got to do it every day. And certain things are automated. You can say, okay, I don't want to post this every single day, so I want to take the weekend off. So I will pre-plan Saturday and Sunday's post so that I post it, but I don't make it public. So you can do that with YouTube. But at a certain time on Sunday and Saturday, whatever, make it public. Well, this Manus AI, you can tell it once. I want you to post for the next 365 days. Okay, so you cover a whole year. You can do 2 years. You can do 100 years. Doesn't matter to it. And this is my business, and this is what I do. And you give a little bit more parameters, like you don't want it to say we move valuable paintings and stuff like that if you don't do it. So you got to put a little bit of guard rails on it. And you tell it, I want to post every day at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time for the next year. Bam. It does it. And it matches the picture with the story. It writes the story. And now you even have it where they can even interact with it. It's just craziness, absolute craziness. And that's taking somebody out of a job. That's taking a marketer out of a job. Now that would be a low-end marketer that's doing that. The higher-end marketer is doing other stuff. But now that a marketing person has that done, then you can go to the next one. Whatever the marketing is, do this for me. It'll do it. Dean Floyd, very good to see you, buddy. I saw you called the other day. I don't know what I was doing, but I was probably taking a shower or something. I didn't even hear it ring. And, but anyway, sorry I missed you. Joe was never POTUS. That's right. That's right. This was. Isn't that scary that there's people that, and what's come out is some of them were like low-level administrative assistants that would be signing his stuff. Why can't I be one of his assistants? 0.1% of everything the Federal Reserve prints comes to Rich Hopkins. Joseph R. Biden Jr. He probably wouldn't find it unless Nick Shirley was investigating. That's why they can get away with all this stuff. Anyway, I want to read to you what I said. It was written so bad that I was like, this might not even do it because I'm in a rush. And but I'll see how it does. I've got a free trial to this thing. Here's what I put in there. This was my prompt. I have a YouTube channel. Sorry, I got an error. Hopefully, are you guys still there? Shoot, I got to check and make sure we didn't shut down. Uh-oh. Something's going on with my computer, guys. Damn. If we crash out, I'll try to be back on Monday. Okay, guys? Anyway, I told AI this. I have a YouTube channel, and I gave it my YouTube channel, where I would like you to analyze what I have done so far. It's a young channel, and I would like you to identify the best growth strategies for me in the future with suggested titles or subject matters. Now, I can talk about any subject. It's a matter of coming up with them. You know, guys, one of the problems with being sort of like an expert in something is it's hard to see what somebody else would be interested in because you've known it for so long, it's not novel to you. And there's subjects that people will write to me and say, oh, I'm so glad you covered this. And I'm thinking when I'm doing the segment, like, this is so basic and so old, and nobody needs this, but it's because I don't need it. Anyway, it's just expressing a mindset that you can easily get into where you're a quote unquote expert in something for so long. And so it takes you away from what people are actually looking for. Anyway, it's a young channel. I would like you to identify the best growth strategies for me in the future with suggested titles or subject matters. It is an Alpha Mind coaching site where I am looking to not only give general fitness information, but try to get people motivated to get into fitness and to stay in it and to overcome the failed repetition thing that goes on there. That's literally how I said it, guys. I was talking it into a microphone. That's how little time I had to do it. So analyze the best growth method for me. And I said, cause I must have, because it's how I wrote it. CUZ, cause I want to grow as fast as possible. And then it writes back, I didn't see this part because I came right in and started the stream. Understood. I will analyze your YouTube channel, Alpha Mind Coach, to identify the best growth strategies, suggest specific titles and subject matters for future content, and provide actionable recommendations to help you grow as fast as possible. Blah, 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 blah. I'll build a modern, interactive, strategic web page. What? I didn't even ask it for that. Containing all the research results that allows you to explore the data more intuitively, understand trends better, and easily save or share. Oh my God, he wrote a website for me where I can go to the website and see the results. I was not expecting that. But in the meantime, this is what it gave to me. This is what I just glanced at a little bit ago. It says, analyzing at Alpha Mind Coach to identify growth strategies, content, ideas, and performance trends. Then develop the interactive webpage. Yeah, okay. Navigate to the YouTube. Oh, it's telling me what it did. It went to my YouTube channel. It read everything. It scrolled through the videos. It looked at these AIs can go through every word in your video. In an hour video, can go through it in 15 seconds. Anyway, it tells about the strategy it used. It found the most popular videos. Oh my God, it wrote PDFs for me. Oh my goodness. I got to share this screen. Anyway, no, I won't, because it gave me a beautiful website. It's a nice website. A comprehensive analysis to actionable strategies to accelerate your YouTube channel from 48 subscribers, which is where I'm at now. I'm proud of 48, to 10,000 in 12 months. Beautiful strategy. And when he did channel analytics for me too, I didn't even ask for that. Anyway, this stuff is amazing, but it's going to put people out of jobs. Why does AI consume massive power and water? The water, I got an idea actually on the water now. Actually, no, I actually asked about that, and it gets a little complex, but basically it comes down to this, Stu. It utilizes so much complex thinking at one time. It's using a massive different array of chips at the same time, and it goes deep into those chips. Now, if you're doing just like a Google search on it, no, forget it. But it explained how there's different levels to AI. A level 1 would be, hey, Google, but you're asking AI, okay? What's the capital of Bismarck? What's the capital of North Dakota? And that's a level 1 type of request. Now, what I did with the strategies and all, I don't know what level that is, but that's not a level 1. That's deeper because it's doing research. Now, I have already had, you'll see on like ChatGPT and other things, you'll have deep research, or deep agent is one that's on one of them. And anyway, if you guys are ever interested, I know of a link where you pay $20 a month and you get access to dozens of AI things. See, different AIs are better for different things. Gemini or Google's is good for pictures, all right, image generation. Nano Banana Pro is under that one. So that's available. Deep Agent, which is, I think, is that under Grok or is it under ChatGPT? It's under one of the others. Sonnet is good for like writing resumes or books or literature, stuff like there's different ones that you can get that from all of them, but there's different ones that excel in it. All right. So anyway, if anyone's ever interested, I will give you the link to that. Because it has all that. So getting back to it, the chips also, you've heard about NVIDIA is the one that has the best chips for AI because they are capable of the best deep thinking, so to speak, layering of different things at the same time. But I've had to do, I'm sorry, my mind is kind of racing tonight. I've had to do deep research, so to speak, on stuff to where I say, give me the industry trends or let me pick something that somebody else would be possibly interested in. I'm interested in stocks in the technology sector. Go out and look at the best profit and loss statements and quarterly earnings for the last 5 years and the structure of the company, whatever. You can get all the deep financial stuff. You can say, give me the best 5 stocks in the tech sector or whatever. That will do deep research. And I've had to do that, not with that, but with other stuff. And even that's not a level 5. I think level 5 was the highest. But some of that stuff took like a half hour to come back with. And when you understand what this thing can do, I'm still amazed by it. It's just some of the images it gives me. And what I've learned is I use AI to give me the prompts for images. And what I've built around that is like what I do for the images on my website for the fitness coaching. Like I said, that look I have, that persona, that's a checkbox. If I want it to look like that persona with that Zion colors or the modern cinematic look, whatever, all that language pops into the AI prompt for an image with a click of a button. And so all these different aspects of AI require a lot of computing. When it requires a lot of computing, that's heat, because these chips produce heat to give you the answer. All the information flowing through there heats up these chips. And remember, these chips also have they basically have all the combined knowledge of the world in these chips. So it's a lot of deep searching and stuff just to get a Google search, so to speak. But that's still only considered a level 1. The higher levels, you could be using a lot of these very high-tech, deep NVIDIA chips, using the deepest layers of them across a whole I don't know, let's say 20 yards of computer chips. You're using all of it, the whole thing. That produces heat. It's like your desktop computer produces heat. That's why you have to have a fan constantly blowing heat off your computer. The chip itself produces heat. And your computer is doing nothing compared to what these AI things are doing. It's exponentially higher what they are doing. And so with heat, you need air conditioning. And air conditioning, as you know, requires a lot of electricity. Now, when I heard that, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Plus, they have these, I don't quite understand, but I'm going to explain it the way I can remember it the best. They have these silicon discs, not silicon, I'm sorry, ceramic discs that they use to help cool the chips. And I'm not sure if they touch the chips or if they're in close proximity, but water is used to cool the ceramics, which are used to take heat off the chip. That is what I would imagine the water is for. Water also cools. But for the electricity needs, I didn't get it until I read that, but it's mostly for cooling. Now, there is electricity with all the deep circuitry that it's searching all these different things that all requires energy to push it, but it's mostly the massive amount of heat generated has to be cooled or they won't function. And that's basically your answer. It comes down to air conditioning. So hopefully that explained it. Sorry it took so long to get to the point there. All right, I'm going to go 9 more minutes. I got to look at the time I used in the last stream, which was more than I thought it was going to. It was like 3 hours. I think at most we have a 5-hour limit total in a month. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if we just changed the calendar to a new month. Did we do that last stream in February? I think we did. So it may all be. I got to check it, guys. Now, if we don't do a stream until a certain period of time, maybe it's because we don't have any time left. But if that's the case, if we run out of time and I don't have the money to pay for StreamYard, I will I'll just with my phone, I'll do an upload and let you guys know, hey, as soon as we clear the time or I get money to pay for it, we'll be back with streaming. But again, StreamYard, which is what I use, as you can see in the upper whatever corner of your screen, it might be backwards for me. I see it in the upper right-hand corner. That means we're on borrowed time. And I don't even know how to check and see how much I've used, but it used to be simple with them. You could do as much as you wanted as long as you didn't go beyond, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 hours a night. But they've changed it, of course, for help them with money, because I'm sure there was a lot of people doing 1 hour streams. They didn't just, okay, we're going to do an hour and it stays free forever. And they don't want that. One thing I've learned with all of this stuff is it's sickening how much everybody wants your money. And by the way, everything AI is credit based. Like that report that I'm going to look at after I get off the stream, I guess, that did research on my YouTube channel. That used up so many credits. Now I had 2,000 some credits free just for signing up or something. And so I got to check and see how many credits that used. But AI is credit based. And once you run out of credits, you either got to pay more or wait until you get more credits next month or whatever. So Sissy May, thank you very much. It was good to see you too. Good to see everybody as always. So yeah, we'll end it. So and I'll check the time. But like I said, if we get into a StreamYard crunch, where it won't let me do it because we just don't have time allocated, I'll let you guys know so you're not just hanging. But again, I'm trying to get more into a schedule where we can go back to normal type of streams. And I have an idea too of maybe I have different YouTube channels. I could do different streams for different subjects. That's one way to do it. Or I can do everything here like we used to. Like if I get back into doing more flat earth stuff, that's way different than political stuff. That's way different than economic stuff. That's way different than other topics we get into here. So like biblical topics, whatever. See, YouTube, there's one way to keep your channel from growing is one,
Make sure most of your videos are like mine are live. That's one. Unless you build it up first, you build it up with regular uploads, and then you build it up, and then you can do a bunch of live streams, and you got your base of people. But see, YouTube, the way one big part of the algorithm with YouTube is YouTube looks at your channel and looks at the content and says, okay, he's talking about flat earth stuff. Now, this is assuming you're not shadow banned. We know you are with certain subjects. It'll go out and look for other people that watch the same kind of stuff, and it'll show my channel to them in hopes that they will see it, like it, and click on my channel and subscribe. That's one. Now, what if you talk about biblical topics? We've had times where I've gone on 3, 4, 5 streams in a row, and every single stream was a biblical topic for a while, right? And so it sends that out. But because I switch subjects every time, it doesn't know who I am. It's all confused. The algorithm's like, I don't know what the Rich Copkins channel is. It talks about flat earth. Tonight it talked about government corruption and Venezuela, some national events. Or I could be talking about there is no hell. Or I could be talking about, who knows what we get into. You guys know, if you've been here long enough, that we talk about all kind of stuff. And there's only so many subjects I'm happy with talking about, just because, mostly it's like, if I don't know the subject, I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about cooking necessarily, because that's not, although I'm getting better with that. That might be a Sissy May topic. So anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. So we got an hour and a half in the books tonight. That'll come off our clock, and I'll try to figure that out. In fact, I should just ask AI, how does it work now with StreamYard? And so we know how much time we have left. So anyway, God bless, guys. Thanks for being here. Good to see you all, as usual. And have a blessed weekend, and see you next week, guys. Bye-bye.